Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the West Alabama Reconstruction Project Open House. My name is Matt Brolier, Board Chair of the Montrose Redevelopment Authority and TERS number 27. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on our website in the coming days. Welcome and thanks for spending this evening with us. This is the second open house for the West Alabama Reconstruction Project. This virtual format will allow more residents, businesses, and organizations to participate in this process. By providing the information online 2 weeks ahead of this meeting, we hope you had a chance to review details and submit questions. We will answer as many of those as possible tonight. Please submit your questions or comments anytime beginning now until 8 p.m. via the chat feature found at the bottom of the screen. After this meeting, the question and comment period will continue through August 17th. You can submit your questions via our Google form on the West Alabama Project webpage on the Montrose TERS website, or email us at info@montrosehtx.org. All questions will be collected, and like the last open house, we will post the responses on our website in the following weeks. The West Alabama project is 1.6 miles of full roadway reconstruction from South Shepherd Drive to Spur 527. It includes major drainage improvements, new sidewalks, utility upgrades, landscaping, and tree preservation. This project is being done in coordination with the Upper Kirby and Midtown TERSs. Our engineer on this project is H.R. Green, and the engineer of record, David Graney, will now deliver a short presentation. That will be followed by answers to questions already received, and then we'll respond to questions submitted tonight on the chat. The meeting will end at 8 p.m. tonight. So to recap, welcome to this second public meeting in a new format to encourage broader participation. We're in the middle of a 30-day public comment period. All questions and comments submitted previously tonight via email and through our website will be answered in the coming weeks. I want to thank the board, our consultants, Mayor Whitmire, Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher, Councilmember Joe Panzarella, and most importantly, thank you for participating.
My name is David Graney with H.R. Green. I'm the project manager and engineer of record for the project. This is the virtual open house for the West Alabama Street reconstruction project from Shepherd Drive to Spur 527. This virtual open house is the second public meeting for the West Alabama Street reconstruction project. The first meeting was in June 2025 during the preliminary engineering phase. Your input as residents, business owners, and community stakeholders is a valued part of this process. The design engineers have worked with the City of Houston on major design decisions, such as the lane configurations and key safety improvements for all roadway users. This public meeting is intended to provide information about the design, detailed changes since the last public meeting, and address your questions. Please submit questions throughout the meeting in the chat. We will address as many questions as time permits at the end of the presentation during the Q&A period. Also, frequently asked questions are posted on the project website as listed at the bottom of the page here. This presentation and the roadway layout are also there for your review. Today we have several project consultants who are supporting and designing various parts of this project. Myself, David Graney with HR Green, the engineer of record, project manager, and roadway engineer. Muhammad Ali with HR Green, who is the principal in charge. Derek St. John with HR Green, who is the drainage engineer. Laura Holloway with HR Green, who is the traffic control engineer. Nick Killian with TEI Planning and Design, who is the traffic engineer and the traffic signal engineer. Joshua Driscoll with Asakura Robinson, who is the landscape architect. And Craig Kale with CN Kale Urban Forestry, who is the urban forester working on the tree preservation. These professionals can answer questions that you submit today during the Q&A session. Now, tonight we are going over the following topics: project overview and objectives, the project scope and schedule, the roadway design, traffic improvements and safety, tree preservation and landscaping, underground infrastructure, traffic flow during construction, the roadway layouts, with a conclusion, next steps, and questions and answers. First, we are going over the project overview and objectives. Now, this project from Shepherd to Spur 527 is the middle section of a larger project. The key goal for the City of Houston was to have consistency between all three sections. The City of Houston drove major decisions such as lane configuration and key safety design choices on all three projects for consistency. Now we are the middle segment, and so to the west is the Upper Kirby segment of West Alabama, and you can go to the Upper Kirby website for information about their project. To the east of us is the Midtown section of the West Alabama project. Now, the West Alabama Street project is a full roadway reconstruction project that is 1.6 miles long. The construction cost will be approximately $30 million. It is currently in the design phase. Now, the funding sources for the project are twofold. There are federal funds via a joint application between the three TERSs and Montrose TERS 27, and again, the adjoining segments, Upper Kirby and Midtown. Our project objectives will achieve the following four goals: to improve safety and mobility for all users, to promote a pedestrian-friendly environment, to improve drainage on the roadway, and preserve trees. Now, the project scope and schedule consists of the scope consists of full roadway reconstruction, improving the pedestrian realm, new traffic signals, improving the storm sewer system, utility replacement as required, street lighting, and tree protection and preservation. The project schedule for for West Alabama Street is currently in the design phase, which will continue through late 2026, with construction beginning in early 2027, lasting for approximately 2 years to its completion in early 2029. And just be aware that this timeline is subject to change. Now, for the roadway design, let's compare existing to proposed conditions. Existing conditions is represented with the photograph at the top left, and it consists of poor to satisfactory asphalt pavement conditions. It has one lane in each direction with poorly marked center two-way left turn lane. Now, this center two-way left turn lane used to accommodate the former contraflow lane. And so it's today, now that lane is no longer a contraflow lane, it operates more similar to a two-way left turn lane without the proper markings for a two-way left turn lane. The sidewalks are 4 to 5 feet in width on both sides of the street. And the tree locations along the roadway are fairly limited. Several of the blocks have no trees at all. Now, proposed conditions will have a new curb and gutter with concrete pavement roadway, one lane in each direction, a clearly marked center two-way left turn lane. Also, it will have left turn lanes at key cross streets, new traffic signals, 6 feet sidewalks on both sides of the street, as you can see in the typical section on the bottom left. And all throughout the project, we will be implementing best practices to protect mature trees. New trees will be planted where possible. We will maintain access to driveways and head-in parking. Now, one section of the project in both existing and proposed conditions does have 4 lanes and is the very eastern end of the project near Spur 527. Now, overall, the existing lane size is closer to 12 feet, whereas our proposed lane size is 11 feet. Now, for traffic improvements and safety. The traffic signal improvements consist of 6 reconstructed traffic signals and 1 new traffic signal at Hazard Street. And if you look at the image below, there is a legend at the bottom right of the map. You can see how the red traffic signals represent the signals that are reconstructed. And these are being reconstructed at Woodhead, Dunleavy, Mandel, Yoakum, Montrose, and Stanford. But there's a new traffic signal at Hazard Street, as you can see, towards the western end of the project. And then the 2 signals at the westernmost and easternmost part of the project at Shepherd and Milam will remain. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about intersection safety for pedestrians. At these signalized intersections, there are pedestrian signals, as you can see at the top left. Also, audible pedestrian signals for those with impaired vision. No right turn on red signs will be posted at all signalized intersections to enhance safety within the intersection. And lastly, leading pedestrian intervals are being recommended to the City of Houston at all signalized intersections. And the Federal Highway Association notes safety benefits of 13% reduction in pedestrian vehicle crashes at intersections with leading pedestrian intervals. We recently did this on Montrose Boulevard, and we will be working with the city of Houston for these to be approved on West Alabama Street also. Also at intersections, there are high visibility crosswalks, truncated dome warning devices for those with vision impairments, and lastly, wheelchair ramps. These are all critical safety improvements at intersections. Next. Now for an improved pedestrian realm, we're going to compare and contrast the existing with the proposed as we go down this list. In existing, there are 4-foot wide, poor condition or broken sidewalks. In proposed, we are upgrading those by removing the existing sidewalks and replacing them with 6 feet sidewalks where possible. In existing conditions, there are outdated pedestrian signal infrastructure, whereas in proposed, we are upgrading pedestrian signal infrastructure to the city standards. In existing, there are faded or missing crosswalk pavement markings. In proposed, new high visibility crosswalk pavement markings will be installed. In existing conditions, there are at times inadequate wheelchair ramps. Sometimes they're just too steep. And in proposed, we are installing ADA compliant wheelchair ramps. And in existing, there are several sections of the project where safe crossings are too far apart when compared to the standard crossing spacing that the city of Houston prescribes at between 500 and 700 feet. And so in our proposed conditions, we are upgrading the spacing of the crossings in this light to achieve the approximately 500, 700 foot spacing. Now, something else to compare existing to proposed for crossing is that in existing conditions, there are various unprotected pedestrian crossings, but in proposed conditions, we're enhancing those pedestrian crossings, as we'll discuss in a few minutes about the rectangular rapid flashing beacons and in general with high visibility crosswalk pavement markings. Now, when we're designing this pedestrian realm, we are integrating safety into every aspect of our design. That is by far the most important part of this project, is to keep all roadway users safe. Now, the pedestrian realm is designed for safety and walkability. The pedestrian realm extends from the curb to the property line. As you can see, this is an example on a street within the TIRZ 27 boundary. And it consists of a 6-foot sidewalk where people can comfortably walk 2 abreast. This sidewalk is offset from the curb to promote optimal safety on the sidewalk. Now, also notice the presence of trees in this offset. That provides an additional physical barrier between pedestrians and the motorists on the roadway. Next. Now, back to those enhanced pedestrian crossings. So what we are designing on the project as an enhanced crossing is what's called a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. These additional safe controlled crossings were requested by the community. We've heard at many meetings how people feel unsafe crossing the roadway, and in discussions with the city of Houston, we came up with this improvement, which reduces the distance between safe crossings. Now, the way it works, and if you can see on the left here, there's the image of a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. You have the pedestrian sign, and there are below that are 2 flashing yellow lights, below which is the diagonal down arrow, and then the push button. And so when a pedestrian wants to cross the road, he should push the button, which starts the warning lights flashing yellow. As they flash yellow, it brings an increased driver awareness to the presence of the crossing. Once the pedestrian has identified that it is safe to cross, the pedestrian should cross the road on the high visibility crosswalks to the other side. Now, all of this has been proven as FHWA safety countermeasure for crossing a street. Now, there are 3 locations where we are installing these. 2 of them are by the University of St. Thomas, one at Graustark Street and Mount Vernon Street, and then towards the eastern end of the project at Garrett Street. Next. Now for tree preservation and landscaping. Our design will preserve trees to the maximum extent feasible. Now, to do this, we use a variety of best practices to protect the trees, which can be seen throughout this slide. And so we have, in some instances, zero curb cutback seen on the top right, to where the ground near trees won't be cut behind the back of the existing curb. Now, in a roadway where everything is shrinking down a little bit, the existing roadway again is 35 feet from face of curb to face of curb, whereas the proposed roadway with 3 11-foot lanes is only 33 feet from the face of curb to the face of curb. Zero curb cutback will be implemented where appropriate and where mature trees exist that are being preserved. Now, in the bottom left, you can see at times where tree protection is designed through the placement of the sidewalk. As you can see in this, with this the large roots for this tree and that top image, the sidewalk is not getting any closer to the tree than the existing sidewalk was before it was removed. Also, at times, we can have our full 6 feet of width for the sidewalk getting up close to the tree and then narrow down to a 4 feet of width or 5 feet of width as needed to get past the tree while preserving it. The third best management practice is the use of a checker plate across uneven root systems. Now, if you look at the bottom right, you'll see an image of a roadway map, and you see both blue and a reddish orange line. The blue represents areas where no mature trees are present between the sidewalk and the curb, and this is the predominant condition along the roadway. Whereas the reddish orange line shows the presence of mature trees, which is more closely concentrated around the center of the project. And so in those red areas, that is where we are designing the preservation of trees to the maximum extent feasible. Whereas the blue areas, we will be planting new trees where possible at 30 feet on center. Next. An additional tree preservation method has to do with underground infrastructure installation. The traditional repair method involves excavating a trench to install the storm sewer, but with the presence of trees, a trenchless repair method is being utilized to construct water lines. For example, water lines can be trenched underneath trees without damaging the root systems, thereby preserving the tree. Now, our landscape architect has selected a variety of different types of trees to be planted along the roadway, including a live oak, cedar elm, Drake elm, as well as St. Augustine grass. Now, the underground infrastructure consists of both drainage, water line, and sanitary sewer improvements. Now, for the drainage, it consists of a storm sewer ranging up to 6x3 to 6x6 box culverts under the roadway. Together, throughout the 1.6 mile corridor, provides over 5 acre-feet of detention, which will contribute to street ponding reduction and an increase in neighborhood resiliency. And so what you'll see after construction is less flooding on the roadway. With less flooding on the roadway, that is a safety improvement for people, whether they're driving in their car or they're walking across the street. It also may improve home resale value. Now, with water line and sanitary sewer improvements, some of these sanitary sewers and water lines are going to be relocated because we're putting a large storm sewer in conflict with them, so they have to get shifted to somewhere else under the road. But some of them are old. They're old, or they're a material that needs to be upgraded to something that's approved by the city. And present on this slide, you can see a large storm sewer on the right that is about the same size as what we're installing. It looks closer to the 6x3 size. Whereas on the bottom left of the screen, you can see kind of a cross section under the roadway, where you can see the water line and the sanitary and how they're offset from our proposed storm sewer trunk line and pipes. Next. Now, with traffic flow during construction, go to the next, please. We are going to construct one lane at a time. First is the northern lane, then the middle, then the southern lane. Signage, pavement markings, and traffic devices will direct drivers, and with various traffic control devices such as drums and barriers by excavation. All of this is designed to ensure optimal safety on the roadway. Now, for automobiles, one lane will be maintained in each direction, with most of the cross streets being detoured during intersection construction. Now, select weekend closures on West Alabama Street may be needed at various times. Now, for those pedestrians, one sidewalk will be open for pedestrian access, while pedestrian detours will be implemented to provide safe crossings, such as you can see on the right side. Within construction, within a given block, pedestrians will be helped to cross the road at either intersection. Now, uniformed peace officers will be present to maintain safety and traffic flow in intersections throughout the project duration, while flaggers will stop traffic and help pedestrians cross safely. Next. Now, property access during construction. We will maintain access at all times to at least one driveway per property. Now, there are properties with only one driveway, and these driveways can be constructed half at a time if they're wide enough, or the driveway will be closed for as little as possible while fast curing concrete is poured. Now, all through this process, advance notice will be given before their driveway is closed, with regular communication with the owner. Now, all contractor info will be given to the owner in case they need to be contacted. Next. So now, if I could get that mouse, I want to show you all the roadway layouts, and really where you can find it on the website. Where's the website? Next one. Okay. So on the website, montrosehtx.org, if you go to projects, West Alabama Street Reconstruction, you can scroll down, and below the meeting information, you have the presentation and the roadway schematic. And this is also where you can submit your comments and questions. Now, first, I'd like to show the legend. the bottom right, you can see what all the colors mean. So you can see how gray is proposed roadway, yellow is sidewalks, blue is driveway, and green are grassy areas, as well as signals, curbs, etc. And so I'm just gonna go over kind of a sampling of the roadway schematic just to make everyone a little bit familiar with it. Here we're on the eastern end of the project where we have the 4-lane section, which transitions to the 3-lane section with 1 lane in each direction and the 2-way left turn lane. You can see examples of how sidewalks are being routed around existing trees to preserve them. Areas where there are wider green areas, such as this wider right-of-way towards the eastern end of the project near Butte. Here is Garrett Street, where one of the rectangular rapid flashing beacons is located on the western side of the intersection. And you can also see where the right-of-way width gets a little bit smaller and where it's a little bit wider. Now, going a little bit further to the west, you can see areas where we have the existing trees and how we're preserving them. The left turn lanes at signalized intersections, driveways. So if a person is interested in their driveway configuration, we are in general maintaining the width of driveways and are looking for opportunities to shorten the crossing distance on driveways for pedestrians where possible. Mulberry is a good example of a street where that has high visibility crosswalks going across Mulberry, but not across Alabama. And so this is an example of where a crossing is, you would be encouraged to go to the next street over to the west for a safe crossing location. For example, at the signalized intersection at Mandel Street. And going further to the west, you can see the Woodhead intersection where the existing lane configuration is being matched. And also of note at Shepherd, formerly left turns were prohibited, but even in the existing conditions today, left turns are allowed. And so we are matching that lane configuration to continue to allow those left turns onto Shepherd. And lastly, we have Hazard Street. You can notice how when you're approaching the intersection from both sides, the existing right-of-way has a bit of an offset. And so that offset is being maintained without any right-of-way acquisition, so that but the intersection is being designed for more optimal safety and much needed safety improvements. Now, to conclude, with all things said, after the roadway is reconstructed, all of our project objectives will have been met, which include improved safety and mobility for all users, improved drainage, promoting a pedestrian-friendly environment while preserving trees to the maximum extent feasible. Now, next steps from here, again, we have our schedule that it has the design going through late 2026 and construction lasting 2 years starting early next year. The public commentary period is open until August 17th. So you can submit your comments and questions through a form on montrosehtx.org or email info@montrosehtx.org. And again, go to the website for this presentation and the roadway layout. And so now we are going to enter into the comments period. There were a number of comments that were submitted in advance of the meeting that we will be responding to, after which questions that are submitted during the meeting, the project consultants are working on some answers to those, which will be shared after the initial questions are answered. Okay, so here are some comments and questions. In addition to crosswalk markings shown on the preliminary plans as through streets that intersect West Alabama, add crosswalk markings across West Alabama that will connect to sidewalks on the east and west sides of Graustark, Yukon, Mulberry, and Roseland. So the answer, Graustark already has designed an enhanced pedestrian crossing. Now at Yukon, Mulberry, and Roseland, crosswalks are not marked. And so the reason for this is that it complies with the City of Houston's spacing of 500 to 700 feet, to where the presence of the markings, or the absence of the markings, indicate that it's not an enhanced crossing, or it's not the safest crossing. So you should choose a safer route and walk to the nearest intersection that does have marked crosswalks. Next question, gutters. So there are some intersections where gutters do go through the intersection. And so one of the examples is Holdy, as well as some others. Now, those gutters through the intersections, they do slow down and can cause bouncing travel for vehicles turning from or turning into West Alabama. And so with these gutters through intersections are not being designed to return. We're going to install inlets near intersections to collect that water and bring it into the storm sewer really before it gets to the intersection. Next question. Thank you. Thank you for including a pedestrian crossing at Alabama and Mount Vernon. There is a lot of foot traffic across this intersection, probably more than at any of the nearby traffic lights. There are a lot of students and neighborhood residents that cross here too. Would it be possible to move the proposed pedestrian crossing to the west side of the intersection? So I have been working with the University of St. Thomas and coordinated with the eastern side of the intersection with them. So that will be remaining on the east side. Next question. So someone is asking about some artwork under the Alabama underpass. Now this is at the east end of the project where Alabama passes underneath Spur 527. Now this area is just outside of our project limits, and so whatever artwork that's there will not be impacted. Also, this person asked about public art along Alabama, but that is not part of this project, so that will not be installed. Another person commented on the continuous left turn lane not being consistent with standard two-way left turn lane markings. And I would just, this design is still being improved. And so whatever lane markings that will ultimately be designed will be finalized per the City of Houston standard details and the Texas statewide standards also. Now, another person is asking about the current offset at the Hazard Street intersection and asking to align it with additional right-of-way. And as I said previously, we will not be realigning Hazard Street as part of this project. We're keeping it within the existing right-of-way. Another question, in addition to a protected green left turn signal at signalized intersections on West Alabama, include subsequent blinking yellow left turn signal during the through traffic green light, and likewise for left turn signals for Montrose, Yoakum, Mandel, Dunleavy, and Hazard. And so our response, left turn traffic signal phasing will be determined per the City Infrastructure Design Manual and National Best Practices for signal timing. So car turning volumes, crash history, expected safety performance, and roadway geometry will all be used to determine the most sustainable left turn phasing operation. So it's all going to be really safe, in other words. Someone's asking to add a left turn at Hazard. And so again, there's not enough right-of-way width to do that. So to add dedicated left turn lanes at Hazard and Mandel. Someone's asking about the steel poles. Now, these steel poles are the ones that used to have the contraflow lane signals on them, and those are going to be removed during this project. So there was a question about working hours, and so you can expect work to typically occur, the construction work to occur during the day, between the hours with lane closures from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Generally on major collectors like this, the lane closures are not typically during rush hour traffic. Though other smaller work can occur outside those hours. Someone's asking, noting how this segment is part of the 2025 High Entry Network. Please use more than just paint and left turn signals. You can harden the center line with a concrete curb. You can add a pedestrian signal, pedestrian islands, and you should paint all 4 crosswalks at each intersection. Please. You know, people will walk across Alabama at all these intersections, so why are you not painting them? So thank you again for all these comments. Now, raised obstructions, such as hardened center lines and pedestrian islands, are not part of this project. Rectangular rapid flashing beacons and ramps are a suitable FHWA proven safety countermeasure and will provide a safe and convenient crossing treatment in lieu of median islands. Now, safety, again, is being incorporated into every aspect of design. This project also will widen sidewalks to 6 feet with the occasional narrowing to avoid trees. Now, intersection crosswalks are marked according to city standards, which are geared towards spaced out marked crosswalks, again, every 500 to 700 feet, rather than at all intersections. There's someone asking about curb extensions or bulb outs. This does shorten the crossing distance for pedestrians across the roadway, but on this project, we're not able to install those due to the need to keep 3 lanes of traffic per the city's guiding mobility principles. There's a person asking about for the center turn lane to be built to 10 feet instead of 11 feet. With the recovered space going to wider sidewalks and tree planting. So our center turn lane, again, is 11 feet wide per the city guiding mobility principles. And that center turn lane serves as operational and safety functions. The center turn lanes accommodate vehicles entering from both directions, provide vehicular refuge space, and reduce the risk of head-on conflicts. Let's see, another comment. Is about the desire to safely bike along West Alabama. And I'll just say that this project being the middle segment of 3 projects is being led by the city of Houston. And the lane configurations of all three projects are consistent in that they do not have bicycle lanes. There's one person asking about whether we can include a 10-foot sidewalk. And there's just not enough room for a 10-foot sidewalk within the right of way. But between the trees and the right of way line, we typically have 6 feet, and at times to save those trees, we're going less than 6 feet. So adding a 10-foot sidewalk, there's just typically not any room. There's a person asking about the crossing by HEB, which is at Alabama and Dunleavy. And so again, this is a signalized intersection. Earlier in the presentation, I discussed how there were various signal safety designs, such as pedestrian signals and audible pedestrian signals, no right turn on red, and leading pedestrian intervals that are being designed. So all of this will lead to a safe crossing at that intersection and at all signalized intersections. Another person, keep the street slow and shaded. It takes a lifetime to grow a mature tree, and they're basically irreplaceable. And so they're asking to keep the trees and to have a wider pedestrian realm. And so with the given roadway typical section, those trees do disallow us from widening the sidewalk towards the street. And we are working to preserve trees to the maximum extent feasible. Here's another comment about the sidewalk flooding anytime it rains, and really making it challenging to cross the street when it's flooding. And so again, we are upgrading our storm sewers to a larger size, and we are positioning those storm inlets to reduce the amount of water that's flowing across the crosswalks during rain events. Another question about long stretches of Alabama with back-to-back driveways that let cars cross the sidewalk constantly. And so in these situations, these wide driveways often lead to head-in parking, which is crucial for those businesses to continue to operate. And so in these instances, we are maintaining the head-in parking width. And so there are going to be areas where those wide driveways do remain, but we are designing in such a way to balance out the safety of pedestrians and access to businesses as appropriate to each specific location. Another question about someone asking for leading pedestrian intervals. Again, we are recommending those to the city of Houston for this project. There's a question about a pedestrian light, stop signs, speed bumps, or partial median at a few places to cross easier. Now this comment is specific in a person trying to walk to the Manil. And so I would just encourage that anyone trying to walk to the Manil from north of West Alabama to utilize the signalized intersection at Mandel Street. It provides a much safer way to access that location. The question about how many corridor oaks we are removing. And so we are working to preserve the existing trees to the maximum extent feasible as a part of the design process. It's an iterative process, and we are working to preserve those as much as we can. But that design is largely still in progress and will be finalized towards the end of this year. There's a question about crash reduction goals, and with every full roadway reconstruction project, our goal is to eliminate traffic deaths on the street, and that is no different for this project. That is our goal, to eliminate traffic deaths. So here's a question again about the center turn lane. And so this person is noting how some cars use it as a through lane or a passing lane. And that this person has been involved in in head-on crashes while waiting to make a left turn into businesses. And so this, as a reminder, the center turn lane used to be a lane that switched directions depending on the time of the day. At certain times of the day, it was intended for eastbound traffic flow, and at other times of the day for westbound traffic flow. Now, those signals have been removed, but the poorly marked center turn lane remains, which has led to a less than ideal safety condition. So this project will include clear signage and pavement markings indicating the intended use of the lane, which will contribute to the overall roadway safety. Now, another comment is to design for speed control. There's references to the potholes and unpaved areas that keep traffic moving slowly. And there's concern about once the corridor is repaved, that the wide open surface will invite speeding unless the physical street is designed to intentionally built to prevent it. And so just a little bit on the overall roadway environments that we're designing. We do have three 11-foot lanes. And again, this is the total roadway width is 2 feet smaller than the existing roadway. This right of way is a safety improvement and will help contribute to the 30 miles per hour speeds on the road. Now, high visibility crosswalk pavement markings also contribute to the safety environment because they bring greater awareness to the presence of the crossings. Those rectangular rapid flashing beacons also contribute to the safety environment we're designing. And in general, with how we're adding additional trees, the additional tree coverage could improve traffic safety by affecting a driver's perceived sense of safety and crash risk, and consequently could play a key role in slowing down speed and making the street safer. And lastly are the traffic signals. Those are a major safety improvement, and the timing of them will be appropriate for 30 miles per hour to improve speed compliance. And that is the last pre-prepared response to questions. And so now we're going to move into the comments or the questions and answers that were submitted during the meeting. And the consultants will be coming in here in just a minute to answer those questions. Okay, now we will answer the questions that were submitted during the meeting as time permits until 8 p.m. And so we'll start with roadway. That's where we generally left off with the majority of the comments that were submitted in advance. So there are a few questions of how wide are the lanes? 11 feet wide. Question, 6 feet wide sidewalks is beyond ADA compliance requirements. That's unnecessarily too wide. And so in general, on this project, we are going for 6 feet sidewalks because that is the preferred width for a street by the city of Houston. However, the sidewalks do vary from 4 to 6 feet in width throughout the project.
To accommodate trees.
Yes, now when we narrow down, it's exactly to accommodate trees. Question, are you taking land from businesses to make 6 feet wide sidewalks? No, we are not. There is no right-of-way acquisition on this project. The additional width stays within the existing right-of-way. Another question, it seems like this plan focuses more on tree preservation than it does roadway safety. Why are there 2 goals associated with safety when it seems like safety was a de-emphasized part of the project? So again, our primary priority on this project is and always has been safety. When we design this road, we are looking at safety on the sidewalk, on the street, within the intersection and the crosswalks. The drainage improvements also contribute to safety. And so safety is always number one. These drawings are marked for draft. Can you confirm there is any scope for changes based on suggestions or has that window now closed? So these plans are draft because we're still in the middle of the design phase and things are still being adjusted as design continues. Now, the typical section is set. So we can't change lane configuration. We can't change the overall safety measures being improved because we're doing everything that we possibly can. Suggestions may be considered for more minor improvements within the context of the project in its current status of design and the way that it's progressing. And now we're going to move to drainage comments. And these will go to Derek St. John. Will the sewer and other lines under the street be done while concreting the road? How much will all of it cost? Does this mean our taxes will rise a lot more to pay for this work?
Just to clarify, the question was about sewer. And if we were reconstructing the sewer, the answer is we're reconstructing both the storm sewer and the sanitary with this project. In part because we are getting a new paved surface and we typically replace aging infrastructure, which is the case with this project. The existing infrastructure has exceeded its service life. Additionally, we are improving the drainage system to improve resiliency and reduce flood risk within the corridor. It will not result in an increase in taxes because of the construction of the project or the storm sewer or sanitary sewer.
And the other part of this is before the new concrete is installed, the underground improvements will be done first. The next question, will storm drains be located at intersections where they will flood pedestrian crossings, or will they be in the middle of the block as in New Orleans, Louisiana?
The inlet design is very consistent with the inlet pattern that we see within the corridor today. Across the board, because of the increase in storm sewer volume, I believe we're adding several acre feet of detention beneath the roadway. We will reduce flooding in all locations. So across the entire corridor, any ponding within the roadway will be lower post-project than it is today. So we do not anticipate increasing flood risk at the cross sections or at the crosswalks. Excuse me.
Okay, I'll take this next one. What are the plans for pedestrian, sidewalk, and street lighting along the West Alabama project? Again, the sidewalks will be typically 6 feet wide, and the street lighting will be upgraded to the required city spacing. This means crosswalks at intersections will be illuminated at nighttime, as well as street lighting will be spaced throughout the roadway in the appropriate spacing of approximately 180 to 200 feet. Okay, pedestrian safety. You want to take this one, Mohammed?
Okay.
It's a lot. What is the city's recommended route for safely commuting from Montrose to the Galleria via bicycle? The original designs for West Alabama are going to make this possible, but it looks like it is going to remain extremely dangerous.
And I think David answered this question, in terms of the typical section. The Montrose, West Alabama project's in the middle of two other TERSs or two other segments. We have Upper Kirby on the west and then Midtown on the east. So they have a similar typical section to what we have, and there's no bicycle lanes there. So West Alabama is currently designed to accommodate pedestrians and motorists, but not bicycle facilities right now. And that's the case for all three segments.
Next, will there be calming on-street infrastructure for pedestrians like raised crosswalks?
Raised crosswalks are not permitted, but there are other safety measures that are being implemented, like signals that are going to be protected. We have hawk signals as well, and rectangular rapid flashing beacons.
Okay. Next, are the rectangular rapid flashing beacons like the one by Katz Deli where drivers are not stopping?
Well, actually, I just came from a Harrisburg East End meeting, and we installed a rectangular rapid flashing beacon for them at McKinney and Columbia Tap. Thank you. And it's worked very well for them, and they actually came to the board meeting, members of the community, thanking the board for investing in a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. It's becoming more and more common. You'll see them throughout the city, and motorists are getting more and more accustomed to how they operate.
This one's going to go to Nick Killian, our traffic engineer. It says, study to see if drivers actually yield to pedestrians at the crossings, and if it's found that safety hasn't improved, will the TERS commit to implementing additional improvements such as pedestrian refuge islands? Can you comment on any yield rates or any studies that you may be aware of?
Yeah, so to add on to what Mohammed said, RFBs and other pedestrian signal improvements are recommended based on a set of criteria and not just haphazardly chosen. They're based on the roadway geometry, the vehicle speeds, and especially the roadway width. So crossing of 3 lanes is much better than crossing 4 lanes, like the Katz Deli crossing, which has not great traffic compliance. 3-lane crossings have really good traffic compliance at RFBs, so we feel confident that this is a good installation case for them.
Okay, one for Mohammed. Will the TERS be tracking pedestrian counts to determine if the new design leads to more walkers along the roadway? And if pedestrian counts don't increase, will the TERS commit to additional work to add additional walkability improvements?
I mean, that's something that we could run by the board, and I'm sure the board would not mind, looking into that. But after the project is done, that is something that we could evaluate with the board to see if that's something they want to pursue.
Another one, do all roadway users not include cyclists? I see 0 features to improve safety for cyclists.
Again, I think we addressed that question. Bicycle facilities are not part of the design of West Alabama.
I would encourage any cyclist to use West Main Street and Hawthorne as primary east-west routes. Those are designated as for bicycles. So I see the attempt to provide a safe crossing at Garrett and Alabama, but you only provide the grossly inferior 3/4 crosswalk design at an intersection where drivers have had 20+ years conditioning to speed up to 40 miles per hour.
I think the 38444 crosswalk refers to continental versus high visibility. And the comment is asking for high visibility, which the project is installing at all locations. So we're basically installing the highest visibility crosswalk that there is out there in terms of striping. And they'll be complemented in all locations, either by a traffic signal or an RRFB. So there'll be an active warning or active control device for all pedestrian crossings in the corridor.
Thank you. Does the TERS have justification for why some intersections only include painting 3 out of 4 crosswalks? So these, where 3 crosswalks are painted, are typically at rectangular rapid flashing beacon intersections to where they're only on one side of the intersection, whereas the signals have crosswalks on all 4 sides. Next question for Nick. Killian, why is there a gap in protected crossings between Mandel and Yoakum?
Yeah, so we're adding 2 new RRFBs in this gap. This is an existing gap that we're looking to reduce. Generally, we're trying to provide crossings every 500, 700 feet with some leeway on either way, on either side.
How do we know that RRFBs will provide equivalent safety to pedestrian islands? Are we conducting a study to verify that claim, or are we abandoning safety concerns immediately after project conclusion?
Yeah. Studies at the A&M Texas Transportation Institute support RRBs in contexts like this. Yielding rates are up to 97% in 2 to 3 lane roads, and RFBs have been shown to reduce crash rates for pedestrians by almost 50%.
Okay, well, let's move to the traffic signal questions. And these will be for Nick Killian. What happens to overhead signal holders from TxDOT?
I think this is the overhead mast arms question that was asked in the written comments as well. Those will all be removed. Those used to hold the alternating direction signs that have been taken down.
Can you define what a leading pedestrian interval is?
Yeah, so basically at a traffic signal, when a pedestrian is given a pedestrian phase, they'll be given a few seconds head start before vehicles are allowed to go. It gives them more time to get into the intersection where they're more visible for vehicles turning or going straight past them. It improves pedestrian safety by, I think 14% was the number in the presentation. And is just a safety improvement basically.
Was there a traffic study performed to verify that the dedicated left turn lane is necessary throughout the corridor?
Yes, we performed delay and capacity analysis for all the intersections in the corridor, all the signalized intersections. And the city and best practice for signalized intersections is to have a dedicated left turn lane, promote safety in all contexts, adding a dedicated left turn lane to improve visibility and vehicle operations. Away from the signalized intersections, of which there are a lot on this corridor, you could theoretically drop the left turn lane, but because the intersections are so closely spaced, you'd only have a short distance where there would not be a left turn lane. So keeping the 2-way left turn lane in those good locations basically just uses that little bit of extra space, and it promotes turning into the driveways, which there are a lot on this corridor as well.
Within reason, can the pedestrian button have priority? When waiting a long time for lights to change, a pedestrian will inevitably cross against the light.
Yes, we will definitely communicate to the city that we want to promote pedestrian crossing safety and reduce delay. That's signal timings are really up to the city, but we can provide recommendations to them. So if that continues to be an issue, continue to follow up with the city about that.
So how will this design slow down vehicular traffic to safe speeds since the lane widths are not being reduced?
I believe the lanes are being reduced from 35 feet over 3 lanes to 11 feet over 3 lanes. We're not making the lanes any wider at any point. We're focusing on reducing the roadway as a barrier by increasing the safe crossing locations. So we're still allowing through traffic on West Alabama, but allowing people to get across it to the middle, to to Dunleavy, HEB, to their houses, to the University of St. Thomas, all the locations along the corridor. It's meant to be a improvement for pedestrians and vehicles and everybody that uses the corridor in general.
Okay, next, will the intersection lights be smart enough to not change if there's no one waiting?
Yes, we'll be adding vehicle and bicycle detection cameras. So if bicycles are using the lane as well, they'll be better detected than they are currently.
Are we not concerned that curb side streets will obstruct driver's sight lines on a higher speed West Alabama and lead to additional traffic collisions?
Speak a little bit outside my expertise, but I think we're keeping all the trees we can because there are a lot of beautiful trees on this corridor. And then when we're planting new trees, we're not planting them in places that obstruct view.
The proposal has 4 consecutive traffic and pedestrian signalized intersections at Montrose, Yoakum, Mount Vernon, and Graustark, and then nothing between Graustark and Mandel. This is inequitable for the residents in this area. What prompted the design of so many signals so close together?
The crossings at Mount Vernon and Graustark are focused primarily on the pedestrian traffic generated by both University of St. Thomas existing, as well as their new dorm that's being built right now, along with the Light Years and Yankee Craft House restaurants that are there. They have parking across the street. So we're trying to focus on pedestrian crossings there. There is a little bit more of a gap to the left or to the west there, but it's generally within the city guidelines.
Okay. Now we will move to tree preservation questions with Craig Kale. Can we get a full inventory of current trees and their preservation or not?
We do have a full inventory of the trees, total of 402 trees along the project. As far as preservation and not preservation, we are still working on the details of the design. And as we progress through that design, the number of trees being preserved continues to increase. Or should I say the number of conflicts with proposed design continues to decrease.
So I just want to add that this is part of the design process right now that we're going through. Anytime we find a conflict, we sit with Craig Kell and try to find a way to preserve the tree by narrowing the sidewalk or the other strategies that David mentioned earlier. But our goal is to preserve every tree we can. But once we get to that deliverable date, we're going to have basically a tree protection plan, the full tree inventory, and that's something that we will share with the community once we get to that point. But right now, we're going through that design process and trying to get that finalized.
Who is going to maintain the trees by trimming, pruning, and keeping them out of electrical wires?
So the electrical wires would be CenterPoint Energy, which is a private entity. And they typically maintain pruning out of the electrical wires.
Now for some landscaping questions for Joshua Driscoll from Asakura Robinson. I see that you are planning to install St. Augustine grass everywhere. Have you considered using native plants instead? If not, why not? They're used to our climate and require little to no maintenance.
So we did consider using native planting in our design, but we're limited with the lack of a maintenance partner in this area to what the city will maintain.
Can you go over a little bit about what they'll maintain?
Typically it's turf and trees. So that's what we're kind of going with. We're trying to maximize the tree coverage right now, trying to get larger trees to make the pedestrian experience a little bit better.
Half the trees you planted on Montrose are dead or severely stressed. What will be different this time?
So we're looking at some selective soil mixes, using some polymer additives into the soils to help with moisture retention, and some structural soils as well to help out with the roots, the root growth underneath the sidewalks and next to the roads.
Who's going to keep the trees trimmed? Why are 6 feet sidewalks necessary? It's Houston, it's too hot to be outside most of the time.
So I think that question got answered a little bit with Centerpoint doing some maintenance. The 6 foot sidewalks is city standard, so that's the width that we're going with.
How many new trees will be added?
As many as we can to improve the pedestrian experience. We're trying to get as much canopy coverage as possible throughout the corridor.
I just wanted to add to the comment about the trees dead on Montrose. So if there are dead trees on Montrose, they're going to be replaced as part of the warranty period. So the contractor would have to replace them. And that will happen as we go through the warranty period.
Okay, question for Muhammad Ali. Does it take 2 years to fix 1.6 miles of road? That seems lengthy, but I'm no expert. It just seems like Montrose stretches were done faster than that by comparison, if I'm recalling that right, but keep me honest.
So, I mean, the challenge really is you have a confined right of way, and you're looking at a $30 million project. So it's a pretty big project. So if you compare it to Montrose was almost $18 million, and it went over a year, right? It was about 14 months to
Approximately.
Yeah, about 14 months. So you're looking at 30 million. So it's greater than Montrose. The challenge is really ensuring that we maintain access to all the properties and businesses in the area. And that's really why we need 2 years. We want to make sure that we maintain ingress and egress. We want to make sure that we maintain 2 lanes of traffic, east and west, so that there are very minimal impacts to the people that traverse West Alabama. That's really why. I mean, we could detour traffic and reduce it down to 1 lane and maybe save some time, but it's going to impact the community in the area. So ideally, we would like to maintain traffic and ensure that ingress and egress is also maintained. And that's why we need that 2-year period.
What will the permitted construction hours be?
Well, I mean, the city permits from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So those are things that we will discuss with the contractor. And the goal is once we start that project, we'll share the construction schedule with the community. We'll share the construction traffic control plan in terms of if there's any lane closures, what type of work we'll be doing, if it's underground utility work versus closures. So all that will be detailed out before the project starts, and we'll share that with the stakeholders.
Where is the homeowner supposed to park when their driveway is closed off from their own use?
So whenever we do driveways, we typically coordinate with the property owner in advance. And what we like to do is we use what we call high early strength concrete, and that typically cures a lot faster than normal concrete. So it'll take 24 to 48 hours to cure. So the contractor and the inspector on site will coordinate with that property owner before we do anything and make sure that there is a alternative parking location for that property owner before we do anything.
How much advance warning will be given to business owners as to closures?
I mean, it depends what type of closures. If we're doing driveway closures, we typically, work with them. If they have 2 driveways, we'll impact 1 while the other one is maintained. Again, we'll use high early strength. So all that is going to be worked out as we start the project. We like to give them as much notice as possible. So it's not going to be like, hey, tomorrow we're going to close your driveway. There's going to be ample notice in advance, and we'll work with the property owners to ensure that they are minimally impacted.
Question for Derek St. John. What direction is the construction project moving? In short, is the construction starting at the spur and moving west, or starting at Shepherd and moving east? That's usually related to drainage.
Yeah, in this particular case, drainage is not the driver. The construction phase because we have multiple outfalls and we can start in multiple locations. So if it's okay, David, I'll return that question back to you
Yes,
in
thank
terms
you.
of start in starting phase for the construction.
I think it's reasonable to assume that it could start on either the east or the west. And then work inward from there. The contractor will be developing their own construction schedule and phasing the project per the city approved traffic control plan. And so when construction gets closer, what we'll be doing I will give regular updates as to where construction begins. Another one for Muhammad Ali. How can we not interrupt business for retailers? What is the plan? We depend on walk-ins and visits to live.
Again, there's always disruption with construction. Our job is to try to minimize that as much as possible. And I mentioned earlier, we're going to maintain two-way traffic on West Alabama. So there will always be access to the business. People can access it. And also in terms of, sidewalks, we'll also be rerouting sidewalks to make sure that people can safely move around West Alabama to get to the necessary businesses as we go in. If there's any special accommodations when we start construction, we'll be able to work with the property owners to make sure that we accommodate them as we go, because each property owner is going to have a unique situation. But our goal and the TERS board goal is to minimize impacts within reason as much as possible.
When would specific dates for construction in front of any given property be given?
So, we're looking to go to construction in January of next year. So towards the end of this year, or December, January of 2027, I think we'll start sharing more information on the construction sequencing, dates, and, the type of initial closures we're going to have, because our goal is when we first start the project is to get the water line work done and the sanitary sewer work done. And David mentioned that we're doing trenchless work. So there's going to be little pits where we push pipe through. So we're trying to minimize impacts to the area. So you're going to see those things first. And then after that, once we get into the storm sewer work, that's when you'll see more closures. But it'll be like a single lane closure. We will not close West Alabama. You will always have two-way traffic on West Alabama. But towards the end of the year, early next year, you should expect to get a lot more information on traffic sequencing and how all that will work.
There's a question about whether fiber optic is going to be installed, and I will respond that fiber optic is not part of our design. Private utility companies can install fiber optic within the city right of way outside of this project. One for Nick Killian. Taft is a cycle route crossing West Alabama. What is done to improve cycle priority at this intersection?
I think they're referring to Stanford because Taft ends at Hawthorne. I used to live on Stanford and bike across there, and right now it doesn't have detection for bicycles. In the future it will, so we'll be able to cross more easily.
One for Derek St. John. Are there more detailed drainage plans? As someone who lives on Kipling Street at Montrose, where similar improvements were carried out, the street now floods dangerously post the work when it did not before.
Yeah, so the drainage plans that are proposed for West Alabama are fairly significant and robust in terms of the amount of flood mitigation that we're providing. The project will greatly reduce ponding depths across the entire length of the project corridor. So we expect at any intersection within West Alabama to have flood reduction. In terms of Kipling and Montrose, the extent of the potential benefit in that intersection is something that we would need to determine based on our hydraulic analysis, but we certainly can get back to that resident with that answer.
There's a question about what is being done to not obstruct funerals during construction at the funeral home. And again, that would go into the contractor coordinating with with the funeral home specifically about timing of construction and when those closures would occur.
And one thing we'll do is we're gonna have door hangers that we're gonna provide to all the residents along, or the property owners along West Alabama. And those door hangers are gonna have, you know, the superintendent's contact information. So if there's a special situation with regards to the funeral, then, you know, the contractor will be able to work with you to make sure that we accommodate that. So that number will be provided. If there's an issue, if something happens, then you can quickly reach out to the superintendent. And we will also have an inspector that will be representing the board. And his job will be to be out there during construction as well. And you'll be able to have his contact information. And again, if there's an issue, then you can reach out to him. He should be on the site 24/7.
Another question, does the city have plans to execute any concurrent projects to improve the intersecting roadways and or infrastructure, sidewalks, stormwater, potable water, sewer, etc., during the time frame of the West Alabama's reconstruction? I do know that the Montrose Redevelopment Authority has a sidewalk project that will be concurrent, but it is north of West Alabama. It's the Montrose St. Francis School Connections Project. And Mandel Street also will be receiving new sidewalks, and that does cross West Alabama. That project will be starting this fall and will last approximately 5 to 6 months. There could be some overlaps there, but as the engineer for both, I will make sure that that's well coordinated. There is a water line job also that I believe is in the area. And I don't know the timing of it, but I will get back on the timing of that, whether it'll overlap with this project.
Okay. Well, if I can jump in, it's 8 o'clock, and that's all the time we have for questions tonight. Want to reemphasize that anything not answered tonight will be submitted for response and posted in the coming weeks. Just another reminder, this question and comment period will continue through August 17th. And to repeat, you can submit your questions via the Google form on the West Alabama project page on the Montrose TIRZ website, or email us at info@montrosehtx.org. Again, all questions will be collected and posted. Want to thank everybody. Thanks to all the consultant team for responding. Want to thank the public for engaging. Just a quick reminder, this was not a board meeting, although a number of board members are attending online, including the Public Engagement Committee. But with that, we'll conclude tonight's virtual open house. And again, thanks to everyone.